Hi, I'm Kara Montgomery, and I'd like to tell you about my new Creative Grid triangle called Triangle Squared. This triangle is the triangle that fits right inside a perfect square. Unlike your 45 or 60 degree triangle, the height of this triangle and the base of this triangle are exactly the same size, so they fit right inside a square. This triangle comes with instructions that will show you how to cut the large triangle for the center of this unit, as well as the two side pieces. When you cut the two side pieces, you'll be using a rectangle and this ruler. You'll have the triangle that you need for each side, and you'll also have a waist triangle that would be in this area. If you'd like to cut those triangles without waist, then I suggest you purchase the companion rectangle, which is the perfect rectangle, is the name of the ruler, and it fits on the side. This ruler, although it cuts the large section that goes in here, is also designed as a standalone ruler. There's many things that you can use it for besides just the triangle and a square block. The triangle and a square unit is usually used as when you put the pieces on here, the perfect square here is usually used as a unit in a larger block. So this would be a smaller unit, and it would be 2 points on a star, say. Because we've enlarged the size of the triangle so that you can cut a larger square, up to a 9-inch finished square, you can use this for a much larger graphic quilt, like those used in the modern quilt movement, or you can use it for the nice graphic prints that we have available today. This is simply a striped piece of fabric. Some of the other uses for it, as a standalone, are this piece, which is the triangle and a square baby quilt. This was done using a 5-inch strip of fabric that was cut the width of the fabric, and then I cut 3 triangles out and replaced 2 of the triangles with the blue. These triangles were then just stacked on top of each other to complete the quilt, and this quilt will be available as a cut-loose press pattern from the local independent quilt shop near you. In addition, you're probably familiar with the 1,000 pyramid or 1,000 triangle quilts. This is an excellent scrap quilt. It's put together with triangles in rows. Now normally the instructions for this quilt would say that you should use an equilateral triangle or a 60-degree triangle. The 60-degree triangle is equal on all 3 sides. The triangle in a square quilt, however, if you would use the new ruler, the height of your triangle as well as the base of your triangle are the same, so it makes it much easier to calculate the finished size of your quilt. If you have a quilt that you would like to be 60 inches wide using the triangle and a square and say a 5-inch finished block, we would need 12 pieces in our base triangle to go across each row. If you wanted your quilt to be 90 inches long, you would need 18 rows, because 18 times 5 would be 90 inches. So it's much easier to create the same quilt using the triangle and a square. In addition, the blunt tip that's on one end makes it easy to determine which direction you should sew it together, no matter what triangle you use, because the blunt tip is always directly across from the straight of grain side. Okay, the triangle in a square ruler cuts the triangles that fit right inside of square, but you can also use it for independent projects without having to make the triangle in a square block. These 3 represent the way that you would put them together, and they were cut from the same size strip. Notice the tip has been clipped on it. That tip is exactly a 1/4 inch from where the finished triangle will be. So that allows you to cut from a strip that's a 1/2 inch larger than your desired finished size. So these were cut 6.5 inches, and when stitched together they would make a 6-inch border. You can use your triangle and a square to make interesting border without having to do any paper piecing at all. The first thing that I would do is take and determine the size of my center block. The block that's in the center of this right here is a standard 12-inch block with a feature fabric in the center. I'm going to surround it with 3-inch sashing that's made from my triangle and a square pieces. It's easy to determine how many I would need to go along the side, because 12 inches divided by 3-inch sashing would mean I would need 4 triangles. On the opposite side of the triangle, I would need 5, because these are going to be trimmed into half triangles. So the first thing that I would do, as illustrated here, is sew all of those triangles together, and then using my 12.5-inch ruler, centering it on my center point, I would trim the ends off, and that will allow me to have my sashing piece and the seam allowances on either end. You can add the corner squares, or your keystones that you put in the corner, along each piece as needed. When you join these blocks together, they'll give you this piece that looks like this, so that you have this sawtooth border that goes between each of the blocks. On the piece that I've made underneath here, this is my feature fabric, and it's been surrounded like this. Now, each of these pieces can be any block at all. You could put any block in the center here, but what I want to do is arrange this so that my triangles match my block like this. And then for this particular quilt, the block next to it will be red. As you can see, my pieces are cut and they've left with my seam allowance so that when I stitch them together, they'll make this piece like this. The triangle and a square ruler that's in the 9.5 inch size also has a companion ruler that goes with it, which is the perfect rectangle. The perfect rectangle is the 9.5 inch size, and it's the companion ruler that will cut the side triangles that you need for your triangle and a square block. You can cut those triangles using the larger ruler. However, this one also comes with a clip tip. The clip tip is on both ends, and it helps you pre-trim your dog ears so that when you position your triangles on top of each other, they fit exactly, and you'll know exactly where to line them up because your dog ears are already pre-trimmed. For the quilt that's behind me, which we call Keystone, we made several blocks using the triangle and a square. When you make your blocks, you'll stitch both pieces to each side, and then we're going to cross-trim the blocks into 3 sections. And if you notice, what we've done is we've eliminated a little bit on the top. That allows us to anchor this piece to here. And then it's simply a matter of rearranging your pieces and putting them back together again. The quilt that's on the wall behind me was done so that all of the fabrics were arranged in the exact same block. This block, they're arranged in a scrappy format. This block can be done in several different sizes because your ruler will cut any size up to a 9-inch finished block. This is the table runner that we've done using this, and this will be a cut loose press pattern, so it'll be available at the independent quilt shop near you. And this, the Keystone pattern, is available from the Quilt Company, also from an independent retailer near you. The triangle and a square and the perfect rectangle rulers are just 2 of 5 new triangle rulers that were added to the Creative Grid line. Look for them at your independent quilt shop near you.